Hello everyone, welcome back to UGC Net English class. In the previous class, we were discussing the story of Oedipus, that is, Sophocles' play Oedipus Rex. Today we will discuss T.S. Eliot's poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, written in 1910 or 1911. Written by T.S. Eliot, 1888 to 1965. Let's see what basically the poem is about in short. So in capsule summary, the poem is a dramatic monologue, or we can say an interior monologue of an old man, an urban man named J. Alfred Prufrock. He is stricken with feelings of isolation and an incapability for decisive action. So our main character of the poem is a man named an urban man. Remember, he is an urban man, J. Alfred Prufrock. So in the poem, Prufrock is talking to another person, probably a potential lover, or he might be addressing the readers directly. Many scholars and indeed the poet himself have pointed towards the autobiographical elements in the character of Prufrock. We know that T.S. Eliot was a person who had no children in either of his wives. So because of his incapacity, he might be portraying the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock in his own persona. So the character Prufrock has so much in common with the poet himself. The poem is also called Prufrock poem. So the poem's title is The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, or we can call the poem as Prufrock poem. But when Eliot was writing the poem, he titled it as Prufrock Among the Women. Remember this? The first title of the poem was Prufrock Among the Women. Then he changed the title. Then changed it inspired by Rudyard Kipling's poem, The Love Song of Har Dayal. So he was inspired by Rudyard Kipling's poem, The Love Song of Har Dayal. So he changed the title of his poem. And the poem has in total 131 lines. 131 lines poem. And the poem can be called the first professionally published poem of T.S. Eliot. So it is considered the first professionally published poem of Eliot. The famous American poet Ezra Pound encouraged Eliot to publish this poem. So it was Ezra Pound's instigation that helped to the publication of the poem. First published it in 1915 issue of Poetry, a magazine of verse. So Ezra Pound helped him to publish it in the issue, a magazine called Poetry, a magazine of verse. Later, Eliot published it along with his other poems. So later it appeared in the collection Prufrock and Other Observations, 1917. Another collection includes total 12 poems. And the poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, is strongly influenced by the French symbolist poets. So Eliot was really impressed with the poems of French symbolist poets, and that influence we can see in this poem. And the poem is narrated in the stream of consciousness technique, or we can say interior monologue technique. There are uses of fragmentation and juxtaposition. So just like we see in T.S. Eliot's other poems, like Wasteland, here also we can see fragmentation and juxtaposition, showing modern man's life, especially after World War II. The poem's structure was heavily influenced by Eliot's extensive reading of the Italian writer Dante Alighieri. There are several references to the Bible. So we can say the influence of Dante Alighieri and the Bible. Then also the references to Shakespeare's plays. The poem refers William Shakespeare's plays Henry for Part 2nd, Twelfth Night, and also Hamlet. So remember, there could be a question like which of Shakespeare's plays T.S. Eliot's poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock mentions? So the answer is Henry for Part 2nd, Twelfth Night, and Hamlet. Now let's analyze the themes of the book. The themes include frustration and impotence of the modern individual, the thwarted desire and modern disillusionment, anxiety, disappointment, etc. So the themes include frustration and impotence of modern individual, thwarted desires and the modern disillusionment, anxiety and disappointment, etc. So we know that Prufrock is an autobiographical poem because Eliot himself has expressed such a sentiment. Eliot was really not able to get a child from either of his wives, so the important character Prufrock can be a representative of Eliot himself, and we can say in general a representative of modern man. And the mood of the poem is anti-romantic, gloomy mood. There is an epigraph to the poem. Before the poem, there are 6 lines. So the epigraph of this poem is a 6-line quotation from the Inferno by the Renaissance Italian poet Dante Alighieri. So the epigraph, it is important to remember, the epigraph to T.S. Eliot's poem The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is taken from Dante Alighieri's work Inferno. Now let's see how the poem begins. Let's go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized on a table. Let's go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. And the poem ends with the words, we have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by seagulls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us and we drown. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by seagulls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us and we drown. Now let's analyze the summary of the work. J. Alfred Prufrock, that means our main character, is a respectable character, but he has seen the rough side of life. So he has lived his life for long, he has seen much in his life. He is getting old and is actually aware of what he has become. measuring his life in coffee spoons, losing his hair, turning thin. So, when we meet the character, he is bothered that time is passing and he is getting older and older. He is due for a refresh, a personal revolution, but he doesn't know where to start. So he wants to change his, helpless condition. But he has no idea how to get to a new start. Yet he still wants to make his mark on the world, even disturb the universe. So he wants to disturb the world, or at least to let the others know that there is someone like him. Throughout the poem, he appears nervous, isolated, and lacking in confidence. He may be intelligent, he may have experience, but he doesn't seem to trust in anyone or anything. So we know that this is the condition of the modern man, especially after World War I. So World War condition of man. So Prufrock is a man representing men in general from the world which is catapulted to wars. But who can blame him? The world is crumbling, and with it comes the fragmentation of human sensibility. So no one can blame him. Prufrock is in a life or death situation between heaven and hell. The city is half deserted. You can sense the atmosphere is not quite right. He is looking for answers. Prufrock ends with the hero assigning himself a role in one of Shakespeare's plays. So, throughout his nervousness, Prufrock wants to find some answers, but he doesn't know how to, what to, and all. So finally, when he ends his monologue, he assigns himself a role. That means the role of Shakespeare's plays. While he is no Hamlet, he may yet be useful and important. So he is not Prince Hamlet. Here he feels that still he can be useful in some way. So modern man's existential crisis. He doesn't know what to do. The World War condition of man. So that's the poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. In the next class, we will discuss the biography of the poet John Milton.